Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. So today I want to talk about struggle. Everybody in this room, including me, has some degree of constant struggle going on. A lot of it is unconscious. Some of it's not. When we feel we're working with problems or trying to get something done, or we can feel that sense of struggle. But underneath that is just a constant sense of struggle, a constant effort to make something happen or stop something from happening or change something or have a certain outcome that we want, or simply just the sense of getting through our lives. There's a constant underlying sense of trying to do something with reality, with our existence. And even when we're not doing anything, there's that feeling. Everybody here can go inside right now and identify that feeling of struggle. It's happening now, even though we're not doing anything except sitting here. The practice that we do, particularly the practice of non-conceptual meditation, or sahaja meditation, is to drop all struggle. That's the practice, really, is to drop all struggle, all effort, and just enter into presence. There's a certain way in which you can have an experience of presence, and even if you can't remain in it, you can understand this. That struggle is completely unnecessary. The idea that we have to do something with reality, that we have to do something about the problem of our existence or the problem of our lives, those kinds of approaches to life, which is all of our approach, all of that is totally unnecessary. There is not one speck of necessity to any of it. We could be living simply being here in presence, responding naturally to what is in this moment. We could just live like that. And any of you who have been doing practice and who have had the experience of that living presence, if you grok that living presence, even for a short period of time, and you think about what that is and what it means, you understand that the only thing you need to do is to stop struggling and enter into that, to be with that, to be that, to be attuned to that. It's radical. If we were simply there with that livingness, being and responding naturally to that, our day-to-day existence would be radically different. So right now, I want all of you, to whatever extent you're able, and this is better done with your eyes open, but if you want to close your eyes because you're too distracted, that's fine. I want you to identify that sense of struggle in yourself. Just that underlying feeling of constantly trying to work something. Anybody here can't feel it? Now I want you to just open your eyes if they have been closed and just look in front of you. This is actually what's happening. Enter into that and try to walk away from that sense of struggle. Just try to enter into what's actually right here. This livingness. Your senses are open. You're experiencing everything that's here. You're just not struggling. You're just being here without struggling. That's all you really have to do to wake up. The thing is, though, that when you stop struggling, you stop defending yourself. A lot of our struggle is defensiveness. What are we defending ourselves against? This has been a theme for the last couple of talks. We're defending ourselves in large part against that livingness. It's too intense. It can be overwhelming. Our senses are taking in so much. We suddenly aren't stopping anything from getting in. Every sensory impression is coming to us, at least what we're capable of in this moment, right? And it's that very sense of aliveness and immediacy and color and vibrancy that we're defending ourselves against. Why do you sit in this livingness, dropping for even a moment your sense of struggle, recognizing how really magnificent that is, and then why do you scurry away? Why do you go back into the struggle? If you are for even a moment without that struggle, if you can even for a moment experience this, just this, without that feeling of struggle, if you can kind of step out of it for a minute, you immediately realize that it's completely unnecessary to struggle. It's just unnecessary. However, in the next moment, you run back into it. Why is that? It's because the immediacy is too much. Your senses are trying to block out some of the input. You feel more comfortable with limited senses. Limited mind, limited eyes, limited skin, limited ears, limited heart. You simply feel more comfortable that way. And some of us are able to open and be in presence more than other people, largely because our senses are have a better digestive system. So let's try it again. I want you to first feel your tension. Not just a generalized tension, but that sense of can't really put it into words, but I think that's how it sounds. That's trying to make something happen or defend against something or And now if your eyes aren't open, open them and just look and let everything in with your skin, your ears, all your senses being open as much as you can, being relaxed. And just step out of that sense of struggle into this immediacy, just being here. Every time that sense of struggle comes back, just try to be here again. Not with any focus, but just with letting everything in, no defenses. Not working it at all. Doing absolutely nothing other than being immersed in this experience. You can see from this vantage point that there really isn't anything to be done. There's absolutely no urgency about anything, except what I'm saying right now in an urgent tone of voice. There's nothing to struggle for. Can you feel that? That there's really nothing to struggle for or against. And then you can also feel how hard it is to stay with this, because there's so much vibrancy. How long can you just stop struggling? Stop doing anything with anything. Think about what is right here. Why do you need to run away from that? Most of it's simply that we feel more comfortable in a cage than we do out in the open. We're used to the cage. That's why we feel more comfortable in it. If you're in a dark room for a long time, in a room like maybe it's padded and you can't hear a lot of sound, and then you go out, sound is very loud and upsetting and things seem too bright. And then slowly your senses acclimatize. This is what you have to do when you're doing practice or just in life. You have to acclimatize yourself to just being here without any struggle or defensiveness or any aggression toward life. This is it. This is reality. There's nothing to be done about it. Scary, huh? Piercing. It can be very piercing. In the process, the reason why we do sadhana every day is so that we can get used to it, basically. Sadhana is like a long, slow walk out of the cave. So those of you that are doing sahaja meditation or shamatha, this is what you're doing. In the case of shamatha, you're taking little sips at the end of every breath. Getting used to it. Grounding yourself in what's actually happening. The literalness of your condition. For those of you that are doing sahaja, you're just immersing yourself in thisness, with aliveness, with full aliveness. Full aliveness doesn't mean you aggressively do anything. You have to let go of your defenses, of defending your senses, particularly. All of our distractions are really defenses that against feeling too much, right? Too much energy, too much color, too much vibrancy, too much knowledge, too much aliveness. Until you're just living totally undefended all the time. Immersed in thisness, relating to that and that alone, not to your fantasy, not to your aggression, not to your anxiety. That's why we have to do so much sadhana, is really like, coming up from deep water and from level to level to level until we don't get the bends anymore. All right. That's That's why it has to be repeated, because our senses can't take it all at once. And our resistance is really resistance to that. Resistance to liveliness, resistance to immediacy, resistance to the just overwhelming intimacy of life. And it's interesting, we have people here at all different stages of practice. People with a lot of experience, people with little experience, people with some experience with this tradition, people with not much experience with this tradition. But every one of you has some sense of what I'm saying. I mean sense, an actual sense. I don't mean an idea. Why is that? Why can a rank beginner have that experience along, and people who are very defended and less defended, you can be a non-beginner and still have a lot of defensiveness. It's not always just about the amount of time you've put in this lifetime. We're in all very radically unique conditions. But every single person here has some sense of what I'm talking about. Why? Because it is your own nature I'm talking about. It's not something outside of you. This naturalness, this immediacy, this vibrancy is your own nature. This intelligence is your own nature. That's why you can feel deeply about something, even if you're a rank beginner. That's why you can feel it, right? Because it is you, it's who you are. Sometimes, even though I've done all these years of practice, I sometimes defend myself against it too. Still. Right? If I didn't, I'd be totally enlightened. I have a very sensory relationship to knowledge. I have a lot of sensation of being related to direct understanding of things. Right? I mean, not everybody's the same. This just happens to me. Sometimes I feel tremendous things happening and I back off. Because it's just too inconvenient or too much or something. And you slowly have to get used to the understanding that everything you clung to is going to go away. And it takes time to get used to that. And I'm still getting used to it also. Most of what's very important to you now will not be important to you in 10 years if you keep practicing. And, even more profoundly than that, your whole sense of self won't even be there. And that's when it really gets down to how much are you willing to let go of that struggle. Because when you let go of any sense of struggle or defensiveness or aggression toward life, everything starts to rush in. Life comes to you, So this is the practice. This is the most direct way of practicing. It's just to continually stop struggling. To continually step out of that. To stop fiddling with everything. And, you're not doing it blindly. Because when you step out and you feel it, that life, you understand that all that fiddling is completely unnecessary. It is of no value. It's simply an expression of fear. Fear of intimacy. It's fear of intimacy, fear of feeling too much, fear of the clarity, like I'm always saying, Ananda is clarity and bliss. We're okay with feeling, some watered down version of bliss. But clarity married to bliss, that's really what Ananda is. It's like the biggest pizzazz you've ever encountered. Yeah. And that's the intimacy, that's the experience that we're afraid of. Like those elephants, they keep chained up for decades and then they open the door and let them into these wide fields, and at first they don't want to go out. Right? We're exactly like that. So that's what your resistance is. Your fear of the full-on experience of life. And being in that and not having small self's control over it. But really all you're doing is hiding in the corner of a dank cage. Well, some of our cages are danker than others, but maybe your cage is pretty nice. My brother once said he was a rut sitter, but he'd made his rut very comfortable. So some of us do that, If we have the means, we make our rut very comfortable. That's the double-edged sword of having means in life, right? We can use our means to, prettify and prop up our defenses. It all looks very good, but actually it's just a better cage. So the practice of all the practices of the Sandhi, including shamatha and sahaja, including what happens in between the shantis when we chant the closing chant, the Hari Om Tat Sats, the moments before I start talking, all of those things are opportunities to just stop struggling and stop defending and stop doing anything other than feeling what's actually here. This is what's meant by sahaja, naturalness. And once you really get it, even if you can't sustain it for more than a few seconds, once you really get it, you understand that there is no value to all that struggle. You may not be able to get rid of all that feeling of struggle and all the patterns that you've built up over the years. I have let go of a lot of struggle and effort, but there's still some of it going on in there, It's a very, very deep, primordial kind of a habit, right? Of how human beings relate to life. But once you actually have some moments of just being there and not doing anything about being here, it puts everything else into a new context. All your feelings of whatever you feel about yourself. All of this are just like distractions to keep us distracted from this incredible livingness. They're just mechanisms for keeping you in that sensory underload cage. They are. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.